Welcome to The Morning Touch. I'm Dalvin Campbell. The Morning Touch is brought to you by SundayLive Homeless Services. We meet the homeless right where they are. You know, it is the weekend is closing. We hope you had a great, happy weekend. Now you're ready to start your week again. I want to share a few words with you from the book of Leviticus. Leviticus chapter 26. And I'm going to try to answer the question, what do I need to do to stay on the good side of God? How do I maintain God's favor? There is an answer to that question. And we hope in these few minutes that we have that we give you some keys that will help you build a strong relationship so that you might receive the bright side of God's favor. When I think about what Israel had just gone through, hundreds of years of slavery, brutal treatment, death and darkness, hopelessness and distress, frustration and a lack of faith. Then came Moses. And Moses brought the word from I am that I am to tell Pharaoh, let my people go. Pharaoh refused, but after a series of plagues in Egypt, he let them go, culminating with the death of the firstborn. And then he sought to destroy the children of Israel in the desert. And the Bible tells me and tells us that the Lord parted the Red Sea. Children of Israel walked across on dry land. And Pharaoh's army was destroyed in the sea after all the Israelites had crossed. They walked in the favor of God. God fulfilled his promise to Israel to rescue them and protect them. Moses went up on the mountain and received God's law, written by God's own hand and from his own heart. The book of Leviticus is a series of those laws that were handed to the children of Israel. Contained within the framework of those laws were instructions on how to maintain God's favor, how to stay on the bright side of God's favor. Leviticus 26 tells us, ye shall make no idols nor graven image, neither rear up a standing image, neither shall you set up any image of stone in your land to bow down to it. For I am the Lord your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will, God speaking, I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit, and your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time. And you shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your land safely. And I, God speaking, will give you peace in the land, and you shall lie down and none shall make you afraid. And I will rid evil beasts out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land. Ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. You know, verses 1 through 7 in Leviticus 26 speaks to what it takes to remain on the bright side of God's favor. None of us want to be trapped outside of God's favor. We need God's love, care, attention. We need God's protection. But that does not come without responsibility. God is able to surround us with angels to protect us in times of war and peace. But what is needed for me to be protected? Israel learned and was challenged to be obedient and faithful. Blessings on following God. Blessings for obedience. Protection for obedience. Care for obedience. Attention for obedience. God says, I will not only protect you, but there are some things that I will do that's going to blow your mind. Nobody in the nations around you will understand. How can this be? It's what God can do when we're faithful. Keep my laws, keep my word, and it equals growth and prosperity. It equals peace and protection. It equals fruitfulness and the ability to multiply. The message to Israel was simple. In verse 6, I'll give you peace. In verse 9, I will chase your enemies from your land. There's something to be said about obedience and faithfulness. Yet, Jesus said that few there will be that will seek that path, that will travel that road. Few there will be that will find that kind of protection and care because of obedience and faithfulness. Israel was told that their nation was sound and intact as long as they kept the laws of God and they walked according to his precepts. God's promise was a loving promise of care and protection. You know, today, if we're to find the favor of God in your family, in your neighborhood, in the workplace, in the government, the state, the nation, we must go and examine and digest Leviticus 26, 1 through 7. God responds to genuine obedience. God responds to sincere, humble service, worship, and praise to him. To be on the bright side of God's favor, it is required that we too must follow the path of obedience and goodness and righteousness. We too must walk, 2 Corinthians 5:7, by faith and not by sight. Too many of us walk by sight, and because of that, we are blinded as we go along the way. But I am asking you to let the scales fall from your eyes today and start walking by faith and not by sight, and start focusing on obedience. Israel was encouraged to be obedient, and God said, if you're obedient, I will bless you. If we want to have a positive, growing, lasting relationship with God, we need to focus on Leviticus chapter 26, verses 1 through 7. Do what Israel was told to do and refocus and start walking by faith and not by sight. The Morning Touch is brought to you by Samaritan Touch Homeless Services, where we meet the homeless right where they are. Today is a lesson where I want to encourage you. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus says, "Why do you call me Lord if you do not the things that I tell you?" And it is the truth. Jesus spoke himself. Not everyone that said, "Lord, Lord," shall enter the kingdom of heaven. Only he that does the will of God. Only he that focuses on obedience, focuses on righteousness, focuses on sober living. That is how we stay on the bright side of God's favor. So I encourage you and I challenge you. Whatever it is that stands between you and God, set it aside. Put it away. Because the only way to be in his favor is to follow the recipe that God gave to Israel. A recipe of obedience. A recipe with a focus on righteousness. An attitude that reflects sober and righteous living. Jesus stands at the door and he knocks. Will you open today and receive this message? You want to be on the bright side of God's favor. That's a win. It's a win for the kingdom of God, and it's definitely a win for you. A relationship with God writes your name in heaven in the book of life. That's a win. So as we close, the ideal word today to be on the bright side of God's favor, establish the right kind of relationship where you are walking with God, you are faithful to God, you are confident and you truly believe in those promises, and God will walk with you. He'll smile on you. I hope you're encouraged by today's lesson. Again, the Morning Touch is brought to you by Samaritan Touch Homeless Services. And I hope, trust, and pray that you're encouraged today. God bless you. God keep you. Start your week on the right foot. Reestablish, rebuild, and undergird your relationship with God. Israel was blessed for its obedience. You too will be blessed and find God's favor if you are found faithful and obedient. God bless you and keep you. See you again next time on The Morning Touch.